Hey everybody, welcome, welcome. We are here for our August edition of Scrifting the Book. Today we're going to be talking about Mary Poppins. I'm super excited to dive in. But first, let my fabulous friends and co-hosts introduce themselves. We're going to start with Natalie and swing it on around. Take it away, Natalie.
I'm never prepared for this. Like I forget the hey, promote yourself side. So I'm always like reaching over. Either way, we'll pretend I have them. I am co-author of a 1,000 word series, which is 1,000 words to get started and 1,000 words to ignite romance, which are writing prompt books, dealing with flash fiction and helping and challenging actually people of all writing uh, levels to just get better because you're only going to get better if you keep trying. um, with that, I am doing monthly streams with my co-author, Chandra Author, and we alternate between her channel and mine. But she also had some computer issues, so we skipped last month. We're going to schedule something this month, I swear. Where we live prompt, write, draft, and everything, and then live edit, because what's more highlighting that we all make mistakes than editing a first draft. In some cases, a zero draft. So you can find us. We're definitely active on Instagram, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
And Ben.
Yeah, and I'm Ben. I am another author. My urban fantasy series starts with Falling Through. I have 2 other books after that, and I am working on the 4th novel in the series. You can come watch the book be written, the book be edited on my YouTube channel, Write at 6 p.m. Eastern Time every week. And yeah, I host productivity sprints there, so feel free to hop in and work on whatever you want, and then we sort of chat it away in the breaks.
All right, and you're here on my channel. I am Nia, the Vixen of Fiction, all over the internet. You can follow me here on YouTube or over on Instagram, Blue Skies, all the cool places. Are you guys ready? Let me find my banners so we can dive in. So we're going to be talking about Mary Poppins, written by PL Travers. We're going to talk about the book first. We're going to keep it spoiler-free, and then we'll talk about the movie, the original OG 1964 musical film. And then we'll go into full spoilers. We're going to be talking about comparisons. And then we'll talk about a little bit about the behind the scenes, some of the other books, the 2018 film, Mary Poppins Returns. So we'll dive into all of that in the next hour. So let's start it off. We're going to find out how we felt about the book, Mary Poppins by TL Travers. Anybody a dislike on this one? A neutral, a like. I'm a neutral like, and you guys are both alike. So there we go. So nobody really was like in love with the book, but we're pretty okay with the book. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our thoughts. So I'm a neutral like. So I think that puts me at the lowest. Shocking. It was fine. It's fine. It is a children's book. I did not read this when I was a child, but I did check it out at one point from the library to read to my kids, and they seemed to enjoy it as kind of like bedtime stories or nap time, cool down kind of stories. And we'll get into the way that it's written, that it's like ideal for that. So as a mom, I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect, and so checked it out from the library. I think we read it in periodically. I think we read it in maybe 10 days because I would do it chapter by chapter, and it's set up for that. So it was perfect. So this was kind of a reread. I think I didn't skip any of the stories, but I don't know if I paid attention to all the stories. And that's why I put it at a neutral like. It's definitely something I would read to little kids again. And it was enjoyable for what it is as a kid story to me. So what you guys were all solid likes. Who wants to go first?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is a solid like. There's a lot of whimsy in the story itself. I can easily see parents reading it to their kids. There's, like you said, each chapter can kind of be its own little individual piece, and you read each night, and something fun to do together. But the story itself, I don't know, I felt like it was just kind of there. It didn't really have a whole, I know it's hard because it's a kid's story, so judging it based on like plot structure and everything, you can't really do it to the same degree. But at the same time, I don't know, I felt like the book just kind of begins and ends, and that's, there isn't really anything that changes. There isn't really anything that goes deeper.
Yeah. And how about you, Natalie?
Yeah, I definitely got the episodic nature of the chapters without an overarching development of characters or plot and such. And I think the only reason it's not a love, because it's probably the time that I'm consuming this. Maybe if I consumed it as a child, it would have that nostalgia for me, much like the movie does. But it just doesn't. It's the time period, so I'm looking at it through my filter now, and I think that's why it's not a love. But I definitely recognize its impact.
Yeah. So so it's episodic stories. I don't remember if there's like 10 or 12 stories, but they're each very different. And we'll get into what's like the movie a little bit later, because that's what I'm familiar with. Was this everybody's first time reading it? Both of you guys? Okay. And it's kind of my second time reading it, first time actually paying attention to it. Like I said before, it was just like a library checkout, something for the kids. How much I was paying attention to what I was reading, not really much. But I did remember the story. I think his name is Andrew the dog. And I think that was everybody's favorite story from my kids. And so when I got to that story, I was like, oh, so that was fun. And I was like, I remember this one. But the stories are fun for kids. Very, like I think Natalie said, they're whimsical. Mary Poppins was kind of like, I don't know. She wasn't very nice.
Very firm, stern.
Very firm. Yeah.
She was also gaslighting those children.
Oh my gosh, master gaslighter. Okay, so when we get to the movie, I always thought in the movie she was gaslighting, but in the book it's like tenfold. Oh my gosh. So there is that aspect of it.
That crossed my mind of like, who are you gonna believe, your own eyes or me?
Yeah, but there's a lot of really sweet things in it. So there's the 4 children in the book, and it talks about how the babies can hear the animals and talk to the animals, and that's all really, really cute and sweet, and also kind of sad because they don't keep that. And the older you get, it's foretold that the older you get, the more of these magical things that you start to forget. So there is that aspect of it. But the book it's a neutral to like for me. Like I said, it was enjoyable enough. I would definitely read it again to the kids. I actually picked up a copy, so I don't have to check it out from the library. And let me show you how cute this is.
It's good when we have to get a physical copy.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to read this to the grandbaby. For sure. So, I mean, it's got all.
Please tell me you do accents. I want to hear you try to.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Like Dick Van Dyke, not to jump into.
I can't do. I don't think I can do. Maybe. And sure enough, if you follow his directions exactly, you will be there, right in the middle of Cherry Tree Lane, where the houses run. So that, yeah, I will definitely be.
It's okay. Kids aren't politically correct. They just enjoy the story.
I will definitely be trying to channel my inner Julie Andrews for sure. I will. So cute book. I love the way that it looks. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to get this and keep it for the grandkid. Fun. So anybody else thoughts on the book? Because there's a lot to get into once we start talking about the movie and behind the scenes. So
I definitely liked with the book, it was this constant like unexpected, like what magical thing is going to happen, and you didn't expect it. Even if you've seen the movie, you did not expect what magic was going to happen. And of course, I couldn't help but picture the scenes from the movie. But of course, there is things that are in the book that aren't in the movie that I was still able to picture because of this world created. And but I still liked being surprised with the magical touches that it happened.
Yes. And Ben, any other thoughts before we get on to the musical film?
Yeah, I can elaborate on just one thing. So I think that sticking with the whole like thing, a lot of kids' books, they kind of have like a moral or a lesson learned. And I didn't feel like there was really a lesson going across. It was just sort of kids being kids and kids having fun. So there's something to be said about having an imagination and whatnot. But I also feel like there was kind of a lack in teaching a lesson.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. All right. We will talk more about the book in a little bit, but let's get on to the original film. So we're going to talk about our thoughts on Mary Poppins from this 1964 film. Who is a dislike, neutral, like, love? Oh, okay. So Ben's a like to love, and I'm a solid love it, and Natalie, you're a solid love it. So
Actually, like to love. And I
like
think
to love.
only so. All right, let me jump in this. When I was a kid, I went through this entire phase of hating musicals. I was like, get to the story. That I don't need this singing. Stop it, and everything. And interestingly enough, the song "Feed the Birds," which I always called Tuppence,
Yes.
it was annoying to me. It was such an annoying song and
Sketchy.
took forever as a kid. I did not like it, which when I get into the behind the scenes facts about it, I find it more interesting. However, I will say I didn't love it as a kid. I kept on wanting to skip over the singing. But as an adult, I recognize it. So I feel like maybe now I am a full love, but at the time I haven't always been.
Okay, I'm a love it. It's a low love, but on a but it is solidly in the love it. I will watch it every time, so that's how I know that it falls in the love. There is a portion of the movie where I start to fall asleep, and it's a childhood thing, and it's around the Feed the Birds and something about the chimney. I don't know if my mom was trying to put us to sleep with this movie. Like, I don't, but I can feel it. But they're enjoyable, and they're in my mind. So it's almost like, you know how you're falling asleep, but you're listening like chimney. And then there's so many times that I saw the movie and didn't fully remember what was happening at the bank, what was happening, because I'm thinking back when I was 5 or 6, I just distinctly remember not fully knowing what was going on. And I think it was because I honestly, I swear, I'm going to ask my mom. I think she was using this movie as this is like a bedtime story when she was too tired to like do that. But I distinctly remember these parts being kind of the slow parts, and then it would be over. But I would watch it every time. Definitely, the highlights were when they jump into the chalkboard, the chalk drawings in the sidewalk. That was like magical for me as a kid. So that's why it's a love. I will watch it if it comes on. I'll watch it every time, and I know the whole songs. Even the Feed the Birds and the chimney, and then the whole thing with the chimney sweeps dancing was so long. I swear I must. Yeah. So I'm like, I know this movie so well, but I will still watch it every time, even though there's a lull where I feel like even as a kid I thought this movie is really long, but not knowing that I thought it was really long, and sad. For some reason, the movie makes me very sad. There are lots of things in the movie that make me sad. The first thing that made me sad was the chalk drawings got washed away. As child me really felt like the world was being washed away. Okay, child me is like, no, they live there. What are you doing? Child me also thought Feed the Birds was very sad. I felt like she was very lonely, sad, and alone. And child me hated when Mary Poppins left. Like no one's gonna say goodbye to her. What is happening here? So there are lots of parts of the movie that kind of like I remember getting sad feelings but still wanting to watch it, and like almost like fanficking in my mind that Mary Poppins does come back and everything's fine and great, and that every time she needs them, like it was like little kid me was making up all the rest of the scenarios in my head. What else was slow? Oh, and child me also thought that the part where they're lifting up with laughter was strange. I don't know why. I thought if they just stopped laughing, they might fall and be injured. Child me had a lot of thoughts about this movie. A lot. So I will stop talking and let other people you can give your childhood versus adult thoughts on the movie, and then we'll talk a little bit about the casting and all that after that. But like you just watching the movie, how do you feel? What were you thinking?
So I know that I must have watched this movie a bunch of times as a kid. Like there's no way I didn't. There are enough scenes in there that are like core memories that I know I watched it. I can't imagine child me sitting through 2+ hours of Mary. Like it's entertaining for me as an adult because I have my own, sensibilities and whatever, but I just don't I can't imagine that they actually sat me down and were like, here, watch Mary Poppins, and just came back 2.5 hours later and I sat through the entire thing. Like I just, that blows my mind because I'm sure it happened. I just can't imagine young me actually sitting through this movie. That being said, it was very entertaining. It was a lot of fun. I am guilty of bringing like modern sensibilities into the movie, which has some weird things where she's in charge of taking care of the kids when they go into the chalk paintings or whatever, and she just abandons the kids to go on a date. I understand it's a 60s movie, whatever. It was a whole lot of fun. It's just kind of me thinking about them. Like that would never be okay in a movie today. But yeah, it is some groundbreaking visual effects. And I know, Natalie, we were talking in the pre-show how you did a lot of research into this. I also looked into it because it's basically like the prequel to Industrial Light and Magic for some of the effects that they did. And it's just fascinating to see how well it looked, even now, where it's, practical effects. They have the whole scene where they're dancing alongside the animated penguins and that whole thing that lasts for a very long time. But it's just remarkable how they were able to create such lived-in worlds with the technology they had back in the 60s. So as phenomenal as the movie is, it's also a wonderful testament to special effects in general.
Yes. Do you guys want to go ahead and get into all of that? The way that the characters and the setting.
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. All right. So we're going on full spoilers here, which means that we will be referencing the book from time to time. So we're just gonna say just full out full spoilers. Okay. So yeah, the effects at the time were great. I have some nostalgia. I have a hard time a lot of times watching older movies. I've tried to go back and watch the Star Trek, for instance, and I can't watch more than one episode at a time because it's just so old. But I love it still. So this I don't know why I don't have that problem with this. Even though it's the Flatron cartoon characters, but the way that they put them in, I don't know. It just absolutely works for me. And I could actually see people doing that today, and it's still using that style today. Even though it looks kind of old, but it would look new now, but they'd be doing it. But it just works for me. In fact, watching this, after I watched this, I was actually able to go back and watch another old 80s movie, because sometimes when I watch an old movie, I'm like, I can only do so much because I'm like, it's so old, and then the cringe factor of it. This doesn't give me that cringe factor where I'm just like nitpicking, like, oh, this is really hard to look at. So, and I don't know if that's because even the cartoon parts look like old Disney cartoons. So if you can watch old Disney cartoons, you'll be the blend is so well. So I don't know if that is a part of that, but this is one of those ones. It doesn't matter if it's a 1964 film. I can watch it just fine, if that makes sense.
It also helps that actually, even though it was made in 1964, it is highlighting the 1910s. Whereas books themselves were going for the 1930s pre-war Europe, but they wanted when the Sherman brothers, who did all the music, who, by the way, I'm going to be throwing in a lot of facts here because I just watched an ABC 2020 documentary on this thing. But the Sherman brothers were the first hired songwriters for Disney, and only actually to actually write some main songs instead of scores and such. And they were hired by Disney because they also did multiple things like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's a Small World. So I would like to call them a one-hit wonder, but there is still famous songs from Mary Poppins yeah, they got hired and they actually created the songs first before the script. Not entirely. Like the first 4 songs were Jolly Holiday, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Feed the Birds, and Stay Awake were the first 4 created. And they weren't even full songs. They were only like 16 bars. However, they were able to, it's like they were able to not take themselves seriously, but yet respect the physics of the world that they were building this in. And I think that's what makes it timeless as well. And also going from pre-war Europe, where things were tense and dark, moving into the 1910s, they even allowed this sound in music to reflect 1910s instead of 1930s, because the music is different between the two. So I think that helped create this lightheartedness, but also, and it's really interesting because famously, PL Travers hated this movie.
I was so surprised to find that out. I was like,
yes.
Whoa, really?
But she wanted something more serious. And also, as we already spoke about, Mary Poppins in the book is kind of stern, gaslighting and everything, whereas Mary Poppins in the movie is more contradictory. Like, she's stern but sweet, and
she's gaslighting, but she's gaslighting almost. She's cheeky about it. She's like,
she smiles when she does it.
Yeah, that didn't happen with kind of almost a wink.
Exactly. It makes me think of not to jump into other franchises here, but Harry Potter and Prisoner of Azkaban, when Dumbledore is closing the doors, going, "Oh, and you could probably save more than one person." Wink. Yeah, and he goes, just closes the door, like that kind of cheekiness and stuff. But in this case, I think the time period was perfect. I think the world, they blended. It kind of helps that even in the real world, they had this whimsy, because the artist that did the watercolor for like the opening scene, like, it was realistic, but at the same time it had this little hint of, this isn't realism either. And the sound, and so the backgrounds, because most of this was filmed on a soundstage, the backgrounds, if you notice, they all, even in the real world scenes, is kind of have that watercolor look to it.
So I love the look of it. And I think going a little bit on the time period, young me didn't fully understand what was going on with the suffragettes. I picked up on it as I watched it later, because I have much younger siblings. So like this movie was like we had the VHS, and I think we wore it out so much my mom had to get another VHS. So I distinctly I was watching this movie with the younger siblings as well, as I was babysitting. And so as I got older, 10, 11, 12, I'm like, I understand what's going on with the suffragette. But then 10, 11, 12-year-old me also noticed that the daughter didn't have a coin to take to the bank. And I'm like, why? I remember thinking, why? Why is it only him? Why is he the only one that they're fighting? Because women she couldn't have a bank account except through her dad. So he was allowed to do this. And as I got older and that realization, like Mary Poppins was like teaching us stuff. She was telling us stuff with the whole and the fact that she has the mom being a suffragette, and then later the son is the only one who has the coin to deposit into the bank. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, when you talk about the sequel, there's some fun little details about that too.
Take it away, Ben.
Oh no, because it's a massive spoiler. So I
okay. Okay. Ben, what were your thoughts on the casting, on the
world
settings and everything?
Absolutely fantastic. I just put in the comment that Dick Van Dyke is wonderful, and he's so multi-talented. Like I don't know how anybody can play. There's a scene in the beginning where he's playing like the accordion while he's got like a little horn on his shoulder, and he's got some cymbals on his knees, and he's just dancing around. Like he is such to do that dance. And I'm sure the sound might not actually be lining up with what the music is, and they do it in post and everything. But just to be that enigmatic, like he is such a wonderful person to have on camera. And Julie Andrews too. She was like, I don't know what, I watched Saving Mr. Banks, so it's a whole thing about how PL Travers was really, really upset and didn't want to give her the rights and like all this other stuff, which is her entitled to do so. But I can't envision anyone else as Mary Poppins aside from Julie Andrews.
Yeah. And I don't think that they could either. They couldn't either. Like, how many times did they put this off just for her? They put it off.
So it was 20 years, actually, that they were trying to get the rights for this. Mm-hmm. The other considered hopefuls or other considerations was B. Lilly. I wish I knew who that was, but these other names I know. Katharine Hepburn, Angela Lansbury, and Betty Davis.
I could see Angela Lansbury, but I feel like Julie Andrews was perfect, and I don't blame Disney for waiting.
Here's the thing:
for her pregnancy.
If they weren't waiting. Yeah, the thing is all right. How Julie Andrews got the part? Back in the 60s, one of the biggest shows to watch was the Ed Sullivan Show, and on Ed Sullivan, a particular night was Julie Andrews and her counterpart doing a song from the Broadway Camelot musical, and so they're singing it. The Sherman brothers were both watching Ed Sullivan at their houses and heard Julie Andrews, called each other, was like, wait, are you watching it? Are you watching it? Yes, she's perfect. She's Mary Poppins. And they went to Walt Disney. Next day, went to the studios and stuff. Walt Disney wasn't there, but his secretary was. And his secretary was like, guys, do not go to him saying she's perfect. He'll immediately hate her and everything. How about this? This is the beauty of secretaries that know their bosses and stuff. She's like, how about this? He's got to go to New York next week. I'm going to get him tickets to Camelot and let him discover her. Sure enough, he got tickets to Camelot, watches it immediately after the show, is requesting to see Julie Andrews in person. And she's like, yeah, sure. By this point, she has not done any movies. She has only done stage plays and is very well known. Like, she did My Fair Lady and got snubbed on being on screen, though she accepted it because she was like, I'm a no-name when in the film. And so she was fine with that. But either way, she did My Fair Lady. Like, she can do these things. Walt Disney sits her down and is like, I want you to play this part. You're perfect for it. And she's like, oh, I'm so flattered. That's wonderful. But I'm pregnant. And he goes, that's fine. We'll wait. Just flat out. It's good. And after she has her baby, Emma, she is in the hospital, just had a baby, like still like groggy a little bit, gets a call from PL Travers saying, where PL is like, hey, I hear you're going to do this. And she's like, yeah, I just had a baby. I'm kind of recovering. She goes, and PL says, you're too pretty, but you definitely have a nose for this part. That was the response.
PL Travers.
Yeah, she's
Pamela Lyndon Travers. All right, Pamela had some sass on her and an ego, and that's why her and Walt bumped heads like all the time, because Pamela, I'm just going to call her that because it's more fun. She was the first living author that Walt Disney had to deal with. everything before this, Pinocchio, Snow White, all these other ones, like there's nobody to deal with on creative control and such. So she was the first one that he had to deal with, but he was able to woo her from 1944 all the way to 1964. What it actually was more like 1963 is about when she signed off on production. But almost 20 years of playing the long con here to try to get this film. Because also, this is what put Walt Disney on the map. Because by this point, no one saw Walt Disney as like a real filmmaker. They just saw him as doing cartoons. And he did do some live action. He did 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. God, what were the other ones? Old Yeller. I wrote all these down, I swear. And Treasure Island. He did all these other live action films, but they didn't see it as serious dramas and stuff. It was him trying to portray himself as a serious actor, serious production company. Like that's kind of the main reason he wanted it, because he was kept on getting put like the kids table when he was at these big events. So in short, after that long-winded nature, and trust me, I got more info if it comes up later, but in short, this movie got 14 Academy Award nominations. Julie Andrews got a Golden Globe for Best Actress on this. They won, out of those 14 Academy Awards, 5 of them. And they won Best Actress, Best Editing, Best Visual Effects, Best Original Score, and Best Song for Chimp Chimney.
Yeah.
So
not to mention they got costume design, cinematography, production
their
design.
Nominations were astounding.
Yeah,
this was no other Disney film has had this many nominations at all, to my knowledge. I mean, of course, when I looked at this was done. I forget when the interviews and stuff were done, but I mean, I could do a double check, but I'm pretty sure no other Disney film has even crossed that number of nominations. As well as, the album, the soundtrack was at number 1 for 14 weeks, which outshined the Beatles, because in 1964, the Beatles were coming into America for the first time. And it pushed the Beatles out of number 1.
Crazy.
That's how well the soundtrack did. There's more information, but I'll trickle it in through the rest of our time here. I like the behind the scenes stuff, especially, oh my God, that secretary. I love her.
Yeah, I think I'm very happy with the casting. They were all funny. The housekeeper, they were all funny. I think that the children maybe weren't the best at the time, but it's all,
what childhood actor would have been in the 60s?
Exactly. That it's like it's all forgiven. They were cute. The little boys' faces, and unfortunately he passed away very young. His facial expressions were just like the popping up of the eyes, and with his ears, it was cute. So it's like you can forgive the bad acting or the immature acting. I don't want to say that he was necessary. They were young. It was the 60s. It's fine. The whole movie was cute. So but Dick Van Dyke was perfect. As a child, I did not know that the accident was so bad, but listening to it now to kind of like scrutinize and pick through it, I was like, oh my gosh, that is not good. But it's fine. As long as the people who he was depicting, as long as they don't get mad. His dancing was fantastic. Him playing the old banker. I love the story behind that he was like, told Walt, you don't even have to pay me. I just want to do it. And I'm so glad he did. It's like, that was hilarious. All of the almost falling over just to spring right back up and just be dancing. It was fun. I just remember as a kid, he was a lot of fun to watch. even though there were parts of it that I did fall asleep in. But I feel like I remember falling asleep to the chimney sweep dances. I think it was very long. I don't know, but I enjoyed it.
Scene.
I did enjoy it, but I just feel like that's might be where young little 5-6-year-old me was dozing off. So my mom was probably like, "Let's get to that part."
But yeah, they pulled out every single trick I could visually I could understand, because they have a scene where Mary Poppins, where they're coming out of the smokestacks, and she turns the smoke into stairs and then starts walking up the stairs with the kids, and like
It was magical.
Just yeah, it is magical.
All right, let's talk about, because we're gonna keep talking about this movie, but let's talk about kind of like, oh, I'm on the wrong thing. I'm like, why can't I find my thing? Click. So, are any thoughts there? So there was another one. Emily Blunt came in 2018. Lin-Manuel Miranda. They came in. They did their thing, and I thought it was fine. Yeah. I didn't really have any, like, I didn't dislike it or hate it. I thought it was fine.
I've watched
it. Doesn't have. Yeah, I watched it once. Will I watch it again? I don't know if I'll watch it again. I think she did fine. Her singing was fine. Her acting was all fine. She was more friendly. Like, it's like, I feel like, is Mary Poppins going to get more friendly every time we do an adaptation? She was also, I don't know if it's because it was in the 2018 movie, it's the kids grown up. So I don't know if that's why she was seemed more involved and more interconnected with what was going on with them. But she was very detached, with the exception of a couple of scenes. She was much more detached in the original movie. It was mostly about what's going on with the kids. In fact, to the point that in the 2024 movie, I was almost like, the dad's turnaround felt kind of quick to me. I'm like, that's, I mean, I guess the bank scene was kind of traumatic. I mean, he caused a run on the bank, but I just feel like her involvement with the adults in the 2018 film was more. There's a bubble bath scene, and it did give me the reminiscence of the jumping into the chalkboard. And there are things from the book that you will get in the 2018 film and the 1964 film, even though these both have arcs. The stories actually have arcs, versus the book where it's just like little pop-up stories while she's with these children. So there's definitely, if you were curious about what happened with the children when they grew up, it kind of will give you that. And also, it was kind of fun seeing a lot of fun, famous faces. Especially even the Nanny McPhee folks were in this, which I was like, that's kind of cool. Would my kids watch it? I don't know. They might when they're little. Like, if there was Mary Poppins, they would obviously would watch Mary Poppins. If this was out when my kids were little, I might put it on for them. They might enjoy it equally, but it doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the same wow and pizzazz and just nostalgia that just is baked in with the OG. But I don't mind it. And of course, Disney. If Disney can make some money, they will. But the stories are there, so it's ripe for making more stories, because more stories do exist. There's a bowl story that comes from the books. Topsy comes from the books. So there's a lot more. There are more stories. It's legit. It's not like they're just remaking the exact same thing. There is a legit stories.
There's source material.
Yeah,
it's not
there's source
like
material.
Game of Thrones finishing up season 7 and 8 without anything to go off of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's basically just a Netflix movie where it's just bland. Like you can turn it off at any point and just pick it back up again and not have missed anything in the space between. And also, hold on.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give away a spoiler for Mary Poppins Returns, but I do want to discuss something that happened in the original movie.
Okay.
The tuppence, the kid took it, like he snatched the tuppence out of the guy's hand and then eventually gave it to his father, right? And that was how and then the father spent it on fixing the kite.
No, the father gave it back to him, but he okay, so he gets fired. Okay, so we're talking about the OG movie?
Yes, because the kid definitely took away the tuppence.
Yes, he did, because that caused the run on the bank, because the kid's like, why they won't give me my money, give me back my money. And so other people in the bank are like, wait, they're taking someone's money and not giving it to them. Give me my money. So then that causes a big run on the bank. And this is why Mr. Banks ends up getting fired. Yes. But he goes in for the meeting. That's the meeting. And he does give it. I believe he does give it to them.
Okay.
And I don't know how did the kite get fixed then? Did they just fix the kite?
My thought was that he didn't actually do anything with it. Like I thought that he still he gave it to them, but then the guy says you don't need to give it to me, and then the father actually had the tuppence. So maybe, but that contradicts. I mean, that contradicts some later on details in the.
Oh, because the sheriffs. No, I think he gives it to him and they keep it. I feel like they keep it. Man, that is a detail I should have paid more attention to. And I thought I was paying attention, but I think
also compounding interest is not that phenomenal for a little tuppence.
No.
I mean, you've seen the study where if you double your money every single day for a month, you would have more money than
That's the other thing. They explain this. They explain compound interest. I'm like, why didn't little me catch on to this? But it's very true. So they literally, the song is about compound interest in a very greedy way. But
yeah,
they made them, but compound interest, that is a thing. If he puts his little coin in now, 20, 30 years from now, it's going to be worth a whole lot. So that was real. They were a little bit teaching us something, but they were also teaching us don't be greedy, because the lady feeding the birds, she needed that money too. Why couldn't he give it to her if he wanted to? Right. So a lot of lessons were being taught by Mary Poppins.
That's what I liked about Mary Poppins the most is to this point, most nannies are there for the children. They're there to keep the children out of the parents' hair. They're there to keep the children in line, to do the raising of the children, yada, yada, yada. Whereas Mary Poppins seemed more of, she was there for the family. Mm-hmm. And that teaching. And I will say, so the 2013 movie, Saving Mr. Banks, which is all about Disney trying to woo Pamela Travers of saying, hey, I want to do this film. And for 20 years, he's trying to do this. That movie highlighted really well where Travers believed the focus was Mr. Banks and what he needed to change about himself. Mm-hmm. And I found that just like an interesting take, and watching Mary Poppins again from that mindset, it's amazing.
And it's also really cool in that Saving Mr. Banks, how at the end of it, the credits roll and it's just an actual recording of PL Travers in the studio with them. And like every comment out of her mouth is, you guys are doing it wrong. Like, this is how it should be done. And
she was so nitpicky. So like I even wrote down, they had recordings of her meetings. So what it is when they finally were, like PL Travers, the reason she finally got on board is that her books weren't selling as much in the 50s and 60s as they were in the 30s and 40s. So she decides to fly herself to go see Disney. Disney hears about this, knows that their egos should not be in the same room. So he hightails it to Palm Springs and sticks the Sherman brothers, the writers, composers, as well as Don, who he did a lot of the storyboarding and stuff, and said, y'all handle it. And so these meetings...
Telling me that Saving Mr. Banks was a lie?
No, because he did go to meetings later, but that first initial one, he wasn't there.
Yeah, it felt like a situation where if they had both been there, this wasn't going to happen because they would have.
It would have never happened, and especially by this point, because also his initial proposal in 1944 was for $10,000. The dollar value in 1960 something, I'll just say 63 because that's when the deal finally got finalized. It took a month to finalize the deal. $750,000,
which was a fortune back then.
Yeah, that is an insane interest rate if you're comparing it between the 2 years. Not 2 years, but 2 years at the end of the spectrum. All right. So they have recordings of Pamela talking to the team where she is interrupting them over and over. It is constantly her going, stop. All right, please stop there. And it's not a 90. Oh, okay. So you want night dress? No. It's a nightgown. That's it. No other term. Nightgown. Not 90, not any of that. It is a nightgown. Another time it was so at the beginning when Dick Van Dyke, Bert, says to the constable who's responsible, he doesn't say responsible, but
he responsible or something about that.
Yeah, he makes up a word. And in the Saving Mr. Banks, they actually use that line from the recording of her going, where she's like, that's not a word. And the Sherman brothers are like, yeah, we made it up. And she goes, well, unmake it up. Like, she was so against everything. But here's the thing. The song, Feed the Birds. So the song I hated as a child, that is the song that made Walt Disney go, okay, I got to get this. When he heard the 4 songs, when she heard Feed the Birds, she was quiet. Except she did sing along to that song. She had an understanding. That was the song that made her a little more okay. Now, at the end of the day, she still hated all of it.
Yeah, right,
However,
right.
That song is what kind of made her close her lips for a little bit. Or at least hum. I don't know to what extent, but she was very nitpicky.
I wish more modern writers would be like her, and we'd have a lot better films.
Very true. Or even not just her. What we were talking about, actors and artists who respect the source material, like we talked about with
The Witcher.
In The Witcher,
yeah.
God, what's his name?
Henry Cavill,
where he was fighting and saying, this wouldn't happen this way. He wouldn't react this way. Gerald wouldn't. And they decided to cut him from that. The same thing happened in Wednesday. So not to jump around, but in Wednesday, there was a scene where Wednesday sees this dress in a window, and it was originally written where she goes, God, I hate how much I like that dress, or something, or I hate that I love that. And Jenna Ortega was like, she wouldn't say that. She wouldn't be like this self-loathing for liking something or something. Like, she likes stuff. Wednesday likes stuff. It's just supposed to be something different for others. And she wouldn't hate herself for that. She's comfortable in her preferences. If anything, she stands firm by them. And so I just found that I like it when artists speak up for the material and the logic, because that let's face it, the thing that will take most readers, most watchers out of the story is when the logic, the physics of the world, whatever, when that is abandoned.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's something that is intentional, like on a rare occasion, something that doesn't make sense in the book, you actually will correct it in the film, but a lot of times it just goes the other way.
Like watching the movie Memento or Sixth Sense, when you watch it again after knowing twists and turns, you're like, I should have seen this coming. Those I love. Right. You don't see it at first. Because I will say my husband is one of these people where I'll have him watch a movie and I'm like, it's such great twists and turns. The guy nails it within the first 10 minutes. And I'm like, I wanted to watch this and experience it together. Thanks, honey.
And this is one of those, I don't know, had Mary Poppins been more like Mary Poppins, would we have loved Mary Poppins as much? I don't think so.
I
don't
don't
think
she
so.
was way too firm. And that's the other thing. So PL Travers, she is actually closer to book Mary Poppins. She didn't like children. She doesn't like cartoons. She doesn't like musicals. She doesn't like any of it. Like, she didn't, which is odd because she's a children's book author and did a successful series, but she just doesn't like it. She wanted something serious. But here's the thing, that's what I think of is beautiful about Mary Poppins, which also, let's talk about how that's evolved into later films of 90s films and then Pixar from Disney, where they are children's films covering serious topics.
Mm-hmm.
Like even just more recently, and we're talking bite size here, but Bluey has episodes about miscarriages, about like these deep-seated topics about a grandparent who needs to take better care of themselves and stuff, elderly parents and stuff, like deep-seated issues that are addressed but put in a bite size. And I feel like Mary Poppins, now I can't put it all on the shoulders, but I think it definitely had a big part of a serious issue. You got a father who's almost neglectful, like even to his wife and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. So the Sherman brothers, their father would go fly kites on the weekends and make kites. And that's what inspired for them growing up. Flying kites was that family bonding, which is why it explains the insane. And I just thought that was beautiful. Oh, and then Spoonful of Sugar. It's because the polio vaccine was dripped onto a sugar cube and distributed to the children in school. And so when they went home to their dad, who's one of the Sherman brothers, the kids told their dad, yeah, I had the polio vaccine. And dad's like, you got a shot? And they're like, no. They put it on a sugar cube, and I took the sugar cube and kind of sucked on it and got what I needed and ate sugar. And then that kind of like just the far off distant stare and walking away as the wheels turn and stuff. Such a beautiful thing. Last thing, because I don't know if we're going to circle back to this. Sorry, I backstory, behind the scenes stuff is what I love the most. All right, that's what I bring to the table out of this trio. The what I loved was Dick Van Dyke, who's, as Richard already pointed out, his accent, English accent, is horrible. He even recognizes it as horrible. When Walt Disney came to him and said, I want you to play this part, first off, PL Travers was like, no, the entire cast should be English. And even Dick Van Dyke was like, my English accent is horrible, man. Like, you don't want me. I appreciate it. Keep me on mind for others projects, but no, this is not it. You should, let someone more deserving than I. Well, apparently, Dick Van Dyke in 1962 did an interview for an article or something that Walt Disney had read. And the article itself said, he was quoted in the article saying, I want to do movies that I can take my kids to. Then later, further down the line, he said, Mr. Disney creates great movies or great films, great pictures, whatever. So by having those two statements in the article, I really sold Walt Disney. And also, when they met in person for the first time, they kicked it off because they admitted that they were just children pretending to be grown-ups. That they were not grown up, that they are big kids and will always be grown-ups that are still kids forever. And so that was kind of their bonding a little bit of still holding on to that whimsy and fun. So,
yeah.
Okay,
well,
it
worked. It worked. Let's get on to, there's some changes. So let's talk about some of the changes. I'll do a couple of them. So, and I think I mentioned this before, that the story is told in like several little short, kind of like short stories or episodes of things that are happening with the kids while they're with Mary Poppins. And then there's one about there's talking animals. There's a zoo at one. There's one with the cow. There's one. My favorite one is one with the dog. There's Mary and Bert. so there's these little stories that are happening, and then it kind of just ends. So there's not much of an arc going on. The other big changes, I don't think we needed the twin babies, especially during that time. I know that we've had some adaptations, like more recently, like what is the one, a series of unfortunate events, where it's a little bit easier to work with a baby, but I don't think we needed the twin babies. But there are some twin babies in the original story that TL Travers wrote. So yeah, those are just two changes that kind of like stand out for me. Anybody, you guys got some changes? And you can go ahead and tell me which ones, if you have a best change or a worst change, you can go ahead and put those out there too.
I don't know if I have a best or worst change. I mean, I think I think that just making it more magical. So honestly, turning it into a musical really, really works well. I know that in Saving Mr. Banks or whatever, that PL Travers was really against having it be a musical. I don't know if that's based in reality or if PL Travers, the real one, was just very against giving Disney any kind of say in her work. But yeah, having this be a musical was just brought so much to life from what was just kind of there on the page. And so everything else sort of falls from that. Like, I can understand why they wouldn't do the zoo scene, because that would just be too much money, or that would be another cartoon, or any other reason. So like the parts of the book that are missing from the movie, I fully understand. And they both supplement each other very well. And I don't think that anything is better or worse for having not had the other part in it. So obviously in the book, I want there to be more songs. And then in the movie, I'm okay with them taking out certain scenes because there were already like a lot of scenes they kind of added in, like the chimney sweep scene.
Yeah. I feel like the scenes that they did take from the book, they picked ones that would work with the story arc of, these absent families are doing their thing, and the children are kind of left to their own. So I think it worked with from the book having no arc to the movie needing to have the plot and everything that traveled all the way through the story and makes sense, so that we have a logical conclusion. I like that that they actually did that. So I'm cool with that. I'm glad that we got that.
I will say I do like that even though they cut out the story with Andrew, there was still a nod to him multiple times in the movie, and I thought that was nice. Because of course watching, I had no clue. I was like, what? But they're talking to a dog. What's going on? And then I'm like, after the book, I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense.
Yep.
I think the other thing that I loved, it's actually, I kind of wish they did the cow scene. However, only because to me it gives me, and I'm going to use modern references, but it gives me Bluey vibes of, you see this random cow walking down the road, and instead of telling the kids, I have no clue why it's there, it's missing or whatever, you create this fantastic backstory for this cow and make it magical. And I was just like, we do that. So I've done it with my own kids where I'm like, I don't know, God, I'm in the middle of something, and I'm like, I need to be more whimsy. Or, well,
yeah,
my oldest, I should have been. My youngest, I still have time. I can still do it. But like, I thought that message is beautiful, and I really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah. I also, the way that Mary leaves was sadder to me in the movie than it was in the book, especially because you have a more sympathetic Mary in the movie, and just to see them just kind of like go off, and she's like, well, I'm done. And it's like, wait, you're not going to go hang out with them a little bit longer and then, have a goodbye and all that stuff. So it was sadder. I wish that the kids had been more attentive, but I don't know if that also played into the magic of it. Like, was Mary even real to them? Because especially when you get into the second, the Mary Poppins Returns, like, wow, she was real. It's like, what? And I was like, wait, was she not supposed to be real? And then I started thinking about the ending.
That's
Like,
a total
wait a
kid
minute.
reaction, is that we have a memory of something that is so
Yeah.
embedded, and we think, oh, it's not real. And
Because it was also a very short time in the book or in the movie. In the movie, it's a very short period of time. She's only with them for a few days.
Until the wind changes.
Yeah. So you'd be like, when was she the one that caused that thing? Because they're being made to forget things almost, or being told that they should forget things almost immediately. They're being gaslit. Like, did we hop into a chalkboard? Did that happen? Are you? I wasn't there. I didn't see that. I don't know what you're talking about. But we have a friendly Mary in the movie gaslighting them. You know.
I will say there's a beautiful, and I think I've talked about this before, and I forget the YouTube channel, but they like to take a preview of a movie and change it to a totally different context. So Jaws became Must Love Jaws, and it makes it like a love story between our main character and the shark. Mrs. Doubtfire became a slasher film in their preview twist, and instead of Mary Poppins, it was Scary Mary was another one. So I forget who does it, but they just take these previews of movies and films and make it seem like they're totally different than what they actually are. And it's really interesting just how important music editing and everything will play into the feelings a movie gives you, or even in this case previews. So either way, on this factor, I wanted to let y'all know that actually Mary Poppins, the 1964 film, is not the first depiction of Mary Poppins. The first depiction was a CBS dramatic anthology series done on Studio One, where Mary Wicks was played Mary Poppins. Mary Wicks, famously for some older generations, she was the ballet teacher in the I Love Lucy show that was very strict and such.
Oh.
She was also in the movie Sister Act and Sister Act 2 as Sister Mary Lazarus, that was kind of very sassy and was already running the choir when Whoopi Goldberg's character came in. So she was very well known. But it was that character in the CBS dramatic anthology series was more in line with the stories of being strict, stern, and no nonsense and such. But that was in the 1950s because Samuel Goldwyn Studios got the rights first in the 1950s for depicting Mary Poppins. And then after the CBS thing, it just
Did it say how PL Travers felt about that?
It didn't say it in what I was looking at. I'm assuming she was more in time with it. And by the way, thank you so much, Ben, for plugging in the YouTube link to the Scary Mary video in case anybody wants to have their childhood ruined.
Those are always fun.
It is fun. I of course I like film. This is the whole reason why our group, like why I ended up joining this group when I found out we were doing Scpting the Book. Like, I like adaptations. I like different looks.
I do too.
And I think they did the reverse with that Jack Nicholson movie.
The Shining. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. They made it into like a love story or something, or a happy family buddy comedy, something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I will say, lastly, with PL Travers, this actually was inspired mostly by her own life. Yeah. So she was born in 1899. She was actually an Australian actress for years until she moved to England in 1924. And the reason she left England and ended up moving to New York in 1944 was because of the war. But before that, she actually had a very traumatic childhood. So, trigger warning of childhood parental death and almost death. So her father passed away when she was young, and her mother tried to herself. And so a few years later, she was very mentally unwell. and it was, I think, the mother's sister named Ellie who came to visit and help take care of the kids when the mother was still unwell. And Aunt Ellie became the inspiration for Mary Poppins.
Yeah. Yeah, they dive into that a little bit with Saving Mr. Banks.
They do. And I just, knowing the source material, like I love reading what inspired, what scenes from an author's life or something they experience, how that seeps into stories. Like, for example, when we did Coraline, I talked about how the author had saved his children from a swarm of bees, and that also happened in the book, where the dad saved his child from bees, and was talking about bravery. So I love that stuff. But that is, I think I actually covered every single little bit of behind the scenes tidbit information that I wrote down in the 2 hours before we went on air. So
as we go into our final thoughts, Saving Mr. Banks, you think good watch? Definitely should
absolutely. If you want to delve into if you find behind the scenes stuff interesting, like I do it. Like,
if you like Mary Poppins, you should watch it. Yes, as a movie, it does not stand up on its own.
Agreed. Like it's a tie-in.
Yeah. And apparently, a lot of it is fictionalized too, because you just clarified, Natalie, you just clarified that a lot of it didn't really happen that way, and it's kind of just telling a fun story.
Yeah, some of it didn't happen in a certain way, but however, I will say, I mean, legit, they have recordings of Natalie Travers being completely like, absolutely not, no. Like, oh, here's a great example. She didn't want red in the movie whatsoever, because there's no red in England. And then, of course, they bring up, well, what about the double-decker buses and the phone booths? And she just waved that off as if they did not just debunk her statement entirely. So that's the type of charher she was.
She sounds like
at the same time,
there should be a movie about her.
I know. At the same time, I appreciate her her creativity of Mary Poppins. I appreciate her how, I mean, I actually wonder what would this movie be if she wasn't there trying to yank things back, because she didn't give them complete reign, but at the same time they didn't give her complete jurisdiction. They did things behind her back and stuff. So both parties are at fault. However, I feel like by having that balance is why this movie is actually as so well received and accepted and holds its own and is timeless. And I mean, there in the documentary I was looking at, or the 2020 coverage of it, you have so many references to Mary Poppins in other media. I mean, most recently, Guardians of the Galaxy, where the blue guy, I forget his name, is coming down and he goes, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." Like, there's that reference. It was in Curb Your Enthusiasm, where they're just singing the song. The Simpsons did parodies of the songs before.
Everyone's parodied Mary Poppins.
Yeah, it is embedded in our culture and everything, and it's really interesting because it started as a British story that crossed over into America, and what also crossed over in America around the same time, another British story that was coming out was Winnie the Pooh. And it's funny because I see them as totally separate, but now seeing this as we called it, the British invasion, because also the Beatles came a little bit, the second invasion, but it was this expansion of art in our lives, and where we've went and referred to other countries. And of course, England is an easier country because we don't have to translate. I have to remove a few U's or something, but for the most part, we understand what is being said.
Yeah, it's a my final thoughts on it are, I love the movie, so I think that it's one that I could watch again easily. I definitely watch with the kids, watch with grandkids. It's one of those, I don't think it's ever going to go out of style. The music, bangers. I'm sorry, we all know the songs. Literally, I could almost, not perfectly, but almost word for word, several of them I could sing. And it is award winning, and I think it was well deserved, because here we are all these years later, almost everybody knows it. So definitely worth it. The book, I say, makes for a good children's book read if you need a something to read to your kids at nap time or break time, quiet time. It works. So those are my final thoughts. Ben, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, it is a fantastic movie. It does have groundbreaking visual effects, which I know have since been replaced by all the CGI stuff, but just the practicality of it is wonderful to watch. So go out, watch the movie, go out, read the book. They're both wonderful in their individuality too, where they can both stand alone, or you can watch them together. Watch them read them together.
Yeah.
I will say what I find interesting is the visual effects. I mean, it was stop motion animation is what a lot of it was, as well as like pulling wires and cords and stuff without being seen, as well as animatronics. That the bird that landed on her finger and you're singing together, that was like the first time animatronics was really brought into the world, and it tied into the World's Fair in 1964, if I remember. Got the right year, but it was like the World's Fair really close at the same time as release, and which is also when Disney released their It's a Small World ride, which featured all these animatronics. It was like brand spanking new, amazing. I will say one last thing. So the little girl that played Jane, she talked about being on set and seeing all these like overweight guys carrying cardboard cutouts of penguins and moving and everything. She's like, I don't think this movie's gonna do well. She couldn't perceive the end result, so she's like, this is horrible.
Yeah, Karen Dotrice.
Yeah,
or Dotrice, yes.
And I thought that was great, because it's such a kid thing for us to do, to
like
look at something as it's happening and not
really?
Yeah, but also the movie magic didn't exist back then, so it's like Game of Thrones right now, where you're just holding a tennis ball at the end of a stick or whatever, and you're trying to just see like emoting.
She's probably like a school play. They're gonna hold these things up in a school play. No, that's what. No.
And I will say, this is not the first interaction of live action with animation. The first interaction that Disney did was this thing called Alice comedies. There were little shorts of this little girl kind of like exploring this cartoon world, and she's interacting with it, but it was more of the silent film music type of approach than how we know interactions, such as Richard brought up earlier of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like how that interacts cartoons and live action. So either way, but it's funny how and every creator goes through this when they're creating the movie. They have this mindset of like, they think something's going to be the big song, or they think, oh man, we're going to be lucky if people see the vision that we picture or something like that. Like, and they're just hoping that it's going to be big. No one ever expects the cultural impact that some of our timeless films have. And I mean that in every single film that has like stood the test of time, multiple decades, multiple generations. No one expects that. But also, in their defense, movies haven't been around at that time for multiple generations.
Could they have predicted the effect that supercalifragilisticexpialidocious would have? And I still can't say it backwards. So, thank you guys. We're going to move on. And anybody else? Are we good on our final thoughts? All right, because we got something else to talk about. What's coming up for September? So the 21st, we're going to be doing Taming of the Shrew. There are some old Taming of the Shrew movies. I think we're going to focus on 10 Things I Hate About You. Is that the one we're going to do? Which, yay, I'm excited.
It's a little easier to digest, I'll admit. I'm not a... Shakespeare was not my fave.
Yeah. I might watch one of the older ones and give you my thoughts on how it comes across. And then in October, we're going to do The Witches. So probably our spooky read. Not really spooky.
There's
but
2 movies to go off that one.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy.
Yes. So you will be able to get our Halloween vibes on for the season. That's all we have. Thank you guys. Guys, got anything else? We'll do some little outros. Where are you going to be at next? Where if people want to come hang out with you, where are you going to be? Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. I'm Ben Pick. You can find me every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time at Writing2Write, and we can do productivity sprints together.
Nice.
Yep. Natalie Locke, I spoke enough. So just follow me on Instagram, let me know, and I'll let you know when I'm live, because I don't even know right now.
And I will be on every other Tuesday right now with Night Write, where we do productivity. And for right now, until we're done, we are every other Monday. This Monday coming up, we'll be doing one. We're doing Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures, talking about fantasy. It'll be a lot of fun if you guys want to come hang out with us. And we're actually taking the class like if we were sitting in the class, which is the first time I've ever done it like that. So if you want to, you can always also just watch it on the replay. So that's where I will be. You can follow me here on YouTube and on all of the other places. Everybody is linked in the description box below. And other than that, we will see you guys back here in September doing more of this. And we'll be talking Taming of the Shrew. So you guys, thanks so much. It was a lot of fun. Are we good? All right. See you guys later. Bye.